whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're going to hurt some people.
Whose car are we going to take?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on the Nikki Medoro Show, live starting at noon every day, Monday through Friday, right here on YouTube. Yes, we will get to the Respect for Marriage Act, a bipartisan bill that is heading to President Biden's desk. Kirk Cameron. I hate siding with someone like Kirk Cameron. I was on earlier with Chip Franklin on his show, What the Franklin, that you can watch right here on YouTube every day starting at 9 o'clock. And we did a countdown of falls from grace. Kirk Cameron was not on his list, but for me personally, as someone who grew up watching Growing Pains, who, teen beat with Kirk Cameron on the cover, I am not knocking someone for having religious beliefs, but he has just gone off the deep end with how much he wants to kind of force and the language he uses, and in many people's opinions, kind of the straight up hate he has for members of the LGBTQ community. His sister Candace Cameron Bure, she's a little more delicate, a little more nuanced with her. I guess hate's the wrong word. Discrimination. Straight up what it is. They don't believe. I'm sure they're very disappointed in the Respect for Marriage Act. But I do have a story about Kirk Cameron because he writes books, and he is basically saying, I want as much visibility as drag queens get. So I'll explain all that coming up. We will, of course, touch on the release of Brittney Griner, an Olympian, a WNBA star who's been in a Russian prison. And then, of course, the question right after I asked myself when I heard the news was, what about Paul Whelan? And so we'll get into that this morning. Remember that cryptocurrency lawsuit that kind of wrangled all of these celebrities? It's been dismissed by a California judge. So we'll touch on that as well. There is an argument in favor of trust funds. That used to be a bad thing. You're just a trust fund baby. Well, apparently we should all be making our babies trust fund babies. There's some a la carte food news. Kim McAllister, when she slides on in from Mark's show, she'll have the news. I want an update on her story regarding giving children Jell-O shots, so you won't want to miss that story. That's in food news, along with what you should avoid from the a la carte menu. I am one that's made this mistake, and I will never make this mistake again. And then, of course, Harry and Meghan, they just can't stop making waves. And so we'll get into that as well. But first, as we always do, please do it. Click that thumbs up button right now. It's right underneath your screen, right there. It's like a little thumbs up. It looks like this. This is what it looks like. I give a thumbs up to Matthew. Just click it once. It helps us out. The super chat also live. If you want to and you can, throw us some dollars, any amount you want. You can purchase a super sticker, a super thanks. You can get your comment read by me. I will give all the shout outs throughout the show, and any amount that you can donate, we really appreciate. There have been so many of you who have been very, very generous on the super chat, in addition to doing the other important thing, which is becoming a monthly Patreon subscriber. It's very simple. You can donate as much as you want every single month. You can donate $5. I've had people donate $50, $100 in my Patreon every month, and you can make the decision on how much you can afford. I appreciate it. It keeps us consistent in money. This is the only income that I'm bringing in. And so if you can donate, please do. It's the NikkiMedoroShow.com. That's where you'll find the Patreon link, in addition to the links to our YouTube shows. So I know many of you are watching on YouTube. Some of you, hello, are watching on Facebook, which I love as well. And you guys are giving me stars on the Facebook page, which is amazing. But if you could share it and make sure you are subscribed. all you need to do to subscribe to the show is have a Gmail account. It's because Google is Yahoo and Yahoo is Google. So you have to do it, but you don't have to use Gmail. You could just use it simply to log into YouTube and subscribe to the show. And please make sure your friends and family have subscribed to the show. And then, of course, a big thanks, as we do every single day, to Steve Moskowitz. He is our exclusive founding sponsor. He is the guy to call if you find yourself in any sort of tax situation, HR, accounting. It's not just dealing with the IRS. So give him a call, 888-TAX-DEAL or MoskowitzLLP.com. All right, so let's get into it. All right, so huge, very historic day. The Respect for Marriage Act. It has been passed by the House. It went to the Senate, which was the huge news, right? It passed the Senate, went back to the House to vote on the Senate bill, and now it is heading to President Biden's desk. And, there was a lot of question after the overturning of Roe v. Wade. What was next? What other rights did we think were kind of settled that were at risk? And so this bill safeguards marriage equality, and it was bipartisan. 39 Republicans joined all the Democrats in supporting this measure. I want to show you some videos. Now, this is Senator Tammy Baldwin. She did not give up the fight to get this passed. And we'll also hear from former Congressman Barney Frank, who was basically calling out the work of Tammy Baldwin in making this happen. So let's listen into what Tammy Baldwin, this is, again, a senator from Wisconsin, what she had to say after the Senate also approved this bill.
On the Senate side, I think we can say we defied political gravity and earned a dozen Republican members' support for marriage equality. On the Senate side,
yeah, I mean, I think that the fact that they were able to do this and get bipartisan support is huge. And we'll be talking a lot about marriage and relationships and how this country and what we accept has changed. And for some people, and I want to be fair when we talk about things like this, for some people, the change has happened quicker than they've been able to accept it. Does that make sense? You have to have, I believe, empathy for those that perhaps don't know anybody in their family or even in their community or their church or their school or their place of business that might be part of communities or groups that they've never had any interaction with. And so all of a sudden, they wake up and this is different and that is different. And maybe their religious beliefs speak very strictly against certain things. And so then it's this conflict, right? Being an American, being part of a certain religion. What do you hold true to? How far do you go with your beliefs? Does it extend only to yourself? Does it have to extend to those that you know and where you live? And so that we'll touch on that also when we start discussing actor Kirk Cameron and how, again, he wants just as much visibility as drag queens. But first, I want to hear from he's retired, Congressman Barney Frank. And again, being here for this moment in history. Here again is a former Congressman Barney Frank.
I was here for the birth of Doma, so I am very grateful to be able to be here for the funeral, and it's kind of a New Orleans moment. We are tooting our horns for the funeral, a much happier occasion than the birth. But I just want to say something very important, not just about this bill, but about the job of legislating. I was chagrined to read criticism of Tammy Baldwin before the election for not pressing ahead with this bill to maximize its advantage as a political issue. And Tammy, through her own life experience, understood what troubles this caused for same-sex married couples all over the country. And she understood that resolving those fears was much more important than any political issue. And she stood up and she was proven right. And I hope people will now take this as an example of responsible legislating,
Yep.
not being panicked by people who have more emotion than intelligence on an issue. And I just want to pay tribute to one of the great legislative achievements I've ever seen, Tammy shepherding this bill through.
I love it. And I love the fact that he gave her the props, right? That again, Mo, that's retired former Congressman Barney Frank, who also had spoken out in favor of giving people in same-sex couples the right to marry. Now, of course, there are going to be the critics. And here's the thing. When we talk about marriage, what are we talking about, right? I think for some people, it's a sacrament, right? I mean, I grew up Catholic. There is a sacrament to marriage. In the Catholic religion, they believe that that is between one man and one woman. I do not believe that. I also don't believe in being an American holding on to those beliefs so strongly that you would vote and legislate against your fellow American who does not believe the same way you do. You don't believe that a woman and a woman or a man and a man should be married? Then if you're a man, don't marry a man. And if you're a woman, don't marry a woman. That is your choice. That is freedom. That is freedom. You can do what you want to do, but what you can't do in a country that espouses religious freedom as a fundamental right to impose your said religion on someone else so far that you could possibly legislate against it. Now, the religious community, some members of the religious community, are not surprisingly disappointed. One person is Bishop, the chairman of the U.S. Bishops Committee on Laity, Marriage, Family Life, and Youth. Bishop Robert E. Barron, he's from Minnesota, was reacting. Actually, this was about a week ago when the Senate approved the Respect for Marriage Act because it had passed overwhelmingly in the House. This is just the day that it's definitely going to President Biden's desk. Now, Bishop Robert E. Barron of Minnesota said that the measure, quote, fails to include clear, comprehensive, and affirmative conscience protections for religious organizations and individuals who uphold the sanctity of traditional marriage that are needed. He goes on to say that decades of social and legal developments have torn sexuality, childbearing, and marriage from each other in the public consciousness. Much of society has lost sight of the purpose of marriage and listen to this part, and now equates it with adult companionship. Yes, that is what marriage is in this country. Now, if you are Catholic or a fill-in-the-blank other religion and you have the sacrament of religion, it means that on top of it. It is not what it is in this country. You cannot live in a country where we have shows, and I watch it, like Bachelorette or Love at First Sight or all these shows where people get married, don't even know each other, don't even know what each other look like. That's okay. I don't see the bishop talking bad about those types of marriages. But this, they do. This, they put out these statements. And I find it hypocritical. Not that I want them to speak out about Bachelorette or Love at First Sight, but what I am saying is what your religion believes about marriage is what your religion believes about marriage. But religious freedom means I'm allowed to see it a different way. I am allowed to, let other people live the life they want to live. Finally, the bishop says, we affirm our respect for the dignity of all engaged in this debate and acknowledge differing opinions in our civil society. But the impact of this bill will only contribute to the diminishment of the sacredness and integrity of marriage in our society. And that I could not disagree with more. If you believe in your religion, if you believe in, let's say, the sacrament of marriage, why would someone else and somebody else's marriage and the way they do it have any impact on you? That was the whole thing with Obergefell, right? They had no standing, really. Your marriage is not harmed simply because a woman married another woman, or a man married another man. They couldn't prove that. There's no argument to say that simply because people are allowed to marry and love who they want to, that diminishes your own sacrament, your own vow in your own marriage and your own religion. I just don't buy it. Nick with an interesting point, and I'm just seeing it because it's right. It's the latest. Nick writes in, intolerance is integral to religious belief. They have to save the rest of us from our lack of faith. That is their sacred duty. You're right. I mean, I'm positive that there are certain religions, and let's welcome Kim McAllister to the show. Hey, Kim, we're talking about the Respect for Marriage Act, and it is President Biden's desk, and I'm very happy about it. But of course, the natural reaction from religious people, and I was talking about the bishop there, is expected. They see some sort of personal offense to other people marrying in a way that their religion does not support. That's fine. You could be offended, but as a country and in the laws that we set, they have to take religion out of it. And I just don't see how they can't support that when they also want the freedom to worship and believe the way they want to.
I've always felt that marriage is a keep your eyes on your own paper situation.
Yeah.
It's not your business. If two guys want to get married down the street, as you said, it
Let
affects
'em.
you not in the least.
Mm-mm.
Let them live their life and do what they want to do to be happy, as long as they're not hurting anyone else and they're in a consensual relationship. That's just the way it goes. And you focus on you. If we all took time to focus more on our own marriages and the health of our own relationships, rather than being nosy and poking our eyes over toward the other guy, then I think life would be better for us all.
Absolutely. And I do find it quite telling that several Republicans signed on to this bill. It goes to show, one, that obviously Republicans aren't falling in step and just voting all together as a bloc, but two, that maybe some inroads are made with so-called conservatives who understand that we live in a diverse country where people believe, worship, and love in different ways, and that's okay. Okay, so now we're going to get into Kirk Cameron. And I might surprise you guys.
Oh, Kirk.
I know. God, did you have a crush on him? Because I had
totally. He was adorable.
It's so disappointing.
I know.
Disappointing in the sense that he is so... He has this air about him, like that he is just, everyone's going to hell. He's so vocal with his opposition, I guess, to the LGBTQ community that it's extremely disappointing. He can worship and believe any way he wants to, but why do you have to use your platform to hate on other people? I just don't get it.
So Candace Cameron Bure?
Yes, exactly.
That's his sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a little more delicate. I was mentioning this before you came on the show. I mentioned her. I was like, she's a little more nuanced with her. I don't want to say despise or hate, but she obviously does not, and her religion does not support recognizing the rights and loves and marriages of the LGBTQ community. And I'm against that. I don't agree with them. They're allowed to believe that way though. But I don't agree with you. Okay. But I'm going to agree I'm going to say kind of with Kirk Cameron in one instance. So if you don't, I know, brace yourselves, people, but follow me. Okay. Follow me. This is not a 100% full-throated, I am backing Kirk Cameron. I'm trying to make a point. Okay. And I'm trying to be fair in the arguments we make as a society about things. And I'll preface this by saying, we and I'm going to use the we as in progressives, liberals, the Democratic Party. We like to say that we want to be inclusive, right? We want to say that people should be allowed to read and say the things that they want to say. I mean, we can discuss hate speech and conspiracies and all that. But what I'm saying is, if you are going to make one argument about one thing, it should hold water in a very similar sense. So let me get into this. Kirk Cameron is out with a new book. Okay. The book is called As We Grow. Okay. So now a typical thing that people do when they write a book is what? They go on a book tour, right? They go, they read their books in bookstores, and they read their books in public libraries. Well, Kirk Cameron has been denied by at least 50 libraries, including the Alameda County Library here in the Bay Area, to come and hold a story hour. Now, I'm going to share the screen. Here he is. And now, of course, he's on Tucker Carlson, which is not surprising. So let me make sure I'm at the beginning of this. All right. So Kirk Cameron is very upset because he's been denied being able to go and read his book to children. Now, it's a religious book. I tried to find captions of it, but he, obviously it's promoting his particular religion. So here again is Kirk Cameron on Tucker Carlson.
We often get told no in the public square. We go home with our tail between our legs, crying in our Chick-fil-A soup, waiting for the rapture, rather than getting on the offense and saying, let's invest in our children and teach them the values we want them to learn. Hundreds of parents and librarians are now emailing us saying, we want your book and we want to host our own Brave Book Story Hour in our public library. So here's my call to action. I want every parent and every grandparent in America to get their favorite children's storybook, my book or other Brave books, or a book of the Bible. Call your local public library that has hosted a drag queen story hour and say, I'd like the chance to read my book in the library. And if they say no, they're likely breaking the law and violating the Constitution, and they can contact bravebooks.com. We'll give them free books and all that they need to turn that denial into a revival in their community.
Ugh, he's so disappointing. I mean, he's just, ugh. Okay, so I can't stand him. You hear how he talks, right? Revival, all these things. But here's my question.
He just turned into a zealot.
Yeah, he's just, and whatever. And he's free to turn into a zealot. Just keep your beliefs in your own household. But here's my question. Remember when they were banning books? And what did we say? What did we, and I'm using the collective we, the progressives, all these. It's the books they don't want you to read that you should get your hands on. The public library should be a place where you can get any book you want to. And yes, you may not agree with everything in that book, but you should be allowed to read it. And so I gave that a full-throated endorsement, that way of thinking. So let me ask you, Kim, and let me ask you guys in the chat, is this the same thing? And the only caveat I'll add is, now no one's saying that the libraries aren't carrying his book. He just wants to go and deliver a storybook because he's comparing it to the drag queens, the drag queen story hour. The libraries that he's reached out to, I guess some of them on their events page have drag queen story hour. So he's saying, wait, you can have drag queens reading storybooks, and he thinks they're promoting an agenda, which they are. I mean, to kind of break down the barrier, allow kids to see and that sort of thing. But you won't let me read my book and share my message to other children. And that I kind of agree with him on. And not saying that he's guaranteed a spot. Let me just say one more thing. Yeah. He's not guaranteed a spot. They have not violated the Constitution. They get to decide. Not everybody gets a storybook hour. Every author would love to have one, and libraries can say yes or no. But I do think that if libraries are saying we're an inclusive, which is what he's heard from some of these libraries, we're inclusive, we support the LGBTQ community, so you don't fit in. If the roles were reversed, what would we say then? And I think that like we do with money, let him speak and see who comes. Because if you're in a community that supports the LGBTQ community and nobody shows up, or a few people show up, or a ton of people show up, that's their prerogative. And I just don't think that instilling values in someone can be so quickly erased simply because Kirk Cameron showed up and read his book. Now go.
So what I have to say is along the lines of what Walnut Creek Adult Softball is saying.
Right.
Are the drag queens reading stories about drag queens? And I guess what I mean to say is when a drag queen goes to the library, they are given a selection of books to read, not that they've written, right? So it's only to make people feel comfortable and realize that the people aren't scary and that we can all get together no matter our differences and read books. Kirk Cameron comes to the table with a book that he has written specifically with his values inside of it.
Right. In his
Right?
religion. Yes. Yes.
Right. So I don't know what the drag queens are reading. They might be reading The Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day.
Right.
Or, Where the Wild Things Are. I don't know what they're reading. Or they might be reading an LGBTQ friendly book. I don't know.
Right. Right.
But what we know is what Kirk Cameron comes with. He comes with a book, and I haven't read it, but if you open his book and it says, man shall not lay with man, and
Right.
here's our values,
Right.
then I would say, maybe that's not so appropriate for kids. I mean, you can have the book, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's what we want to spout at our library.
Well, then why would you bring, okay, again, now there's a difference between going to this reading, right? Plopping your kid down, because the book is made for, I think, like 10 and under. So it's a kid's book. So I'm assuming the language is a kid level, not like I have no idea. I haven't read the book. Okay, but is there a difference between willingly showing up and listening to Kirk Cameron read his book and a library just saying, we're a library.
Right.
We allow books under our roof and authors that can espouse all sorts of ideas and beliefs. And that's what I support. That's what I support.
So I think it's not so different than our religious conversation where the Satan Club was wanting to host a class, right? If you're going to if you're going to let the Christian people have a class, then you got to let the Satan people have a class.
Exactly.
If you're going to let the drag queens in, then you got to let the Kirk Camerons of the world in. Where I part company is what's in his book.
Of course. And so do I. Absolutely.
Is it a message full of hate? Is that what he's trying to teach kids? Because if that's what it is, then I don't care who you are, whether you're a drag queen trying to teach people to hate folks that aren't like you, which is not going to happen, or if you're the Kirk Cameron who's trying to teach kids to shun and not like people of other persuasions. I just wonder what's in the book. That's all.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I looked it up on Amazon, and of course, I think that it's promoting his religious beliefs, his Christian, I think he's Christian, his Christian beliefs. So of course it's going to be probably some of the philosophies and tenets of the religion. So probably very man, woman focused. But again, it's just the argument. Now, again, I will say this. He has no, constitutional right to read his book at a public library. A public library has the power to decide who and what books are read during their story time events. That is something that all libraries have. I'm just saying that it would really reinforce what we truly believe if we allow people to have a platform and see what the public reacts. The public should be trusted to be able to sit there or not sit there. It's similar to, Milo Yiannopoulos going to UC Berkeley. What have I always said? I said it on Station X and I've said it here. Have him come. Have him come. And then see who listens to him. See who challenges him. But by cutting him off, you're giving him a bigger platform. You gave Milo a bigger platform. Kirk Cameron now has a headline that he can spread versus just like, sure, read your Christian-focused anti-LGBTQ book. We don't agree with it, but knock yourself out. Because that's being an American.
She says separation of church and state. Libraries are tax supported, so no religious agenda. They can carry his books, but no preaching in the library.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Is it preaching to read your own book? I guess it could be considered that. Well, there's a lot of things that we support with our tax dollars that people can, I guess, espouse their religious beliefs on. That's an interesting point. All right. We're coming up on the bottom of the hour news. We'll continue this. I'll get to some of your comments. I'll read them while Kim does her news. She actually gave me this list of big U.S. companies that you may not know are religious. So how much does your feelings about religion or organized religion go when it may just happen to be your favorite restaurant or company? I'll have a little bit of food news coming up also this hour or the next hour. I'll get to that because there is one thing I have done at one of my daughter loves this restaurant, and I always buy a la carte there thinking I'm making a good decision. Worst decision ever. And so we'll explain that. Kind of keeping it in the LGBTQ realm for just a moment. There was a story that came out of the People's Choice Awards. Also, we'll touch on Brittney Griner's release and, of course, the fact that Paul Whelan still sitting in a Russian prison. And how does that make you and other people feel? The live chat, of course, is open. I will get to some of your comments right after. But first, let's take a look at some news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. The White House says Brittney Griner is in generally good health after being released from Russian custody. Meanwhile, National Security spokesperson John Kirby says the U.S. will continue to work to bring back retired Marine Paul Whelan. Paul Whelan's lawyer says the talks to get him released from Russian custody are ongoing. This looks like the lawyer says Whelan is in a penal colony after he was sentenced for spying, but he has denied all other charges. So again, negotiations underway for him. A scathing congressional report claims the NFL's Washington Commanders hid decades of sexual misconduct. Today, a U.S. House committee released the report that zeroed in on team owner Dan Snyder. The report says Snyder allowed pervasive sexual harassment by team executives of female employees, and he tried to interfere with investigations into the Commanders' toxic workplace culture. The FDA is authorizing COVID vaccines for children to target the Omicron variant. Children 6 months through 5 years old eligible for the booster. 2 months after Moderna's 2-dose vaccine series. Kids 6 months through 4 years old who haven't yet received the third dose of Pfizer's primary series will now get the Omicron shot as their third shot. Looks like the month's end of a Trump-era health rule called Title 42 that's been used to speed up deportations has the feds looking for ways now to take the pressure off the border. Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez has been told custom agents plan to drop off 180 migrants a day in Uvalde, Texas, which is still reeling from May's school shooting. The town is in his district, says the city does not have the resources to help these asylum seekers. The nation's capital suing Amazon. Washington, D.C. Attorney General Karl Racine says it can and should do better. He claims the retail giant tricked shoppers and stole tips meant for delivery drivers, then used the money to reduce labor costs and increase profits. There is an off-duty Chicago police officer facing charges after he was caught, if you guessed, urinating into an ice machine at a Florida bar.
That was my guess. That was my guess. I was right. I guessed that. Yeah, that was my guess. Okay.
Henry Capuch. He was vacationing in Florida. He was arrested at St. Pete Beach on Monday. A bar employee allegedly caught him right in the act, peeing right into the ice machine at a Florida bar. You see, Henry, this is why we can't have nice things.
You know what?
Oh,
I think about this all the
God.
time. Whenever I go, let's say if it's a hotel or a motel or something, and they have the ice machine outside, I go, I'm not drinking that. Not that it can't happen if it's inside, but if it's outside, I just feel like someone was not gross. It's disgusting. It's absolutely
it's really disgusting.
Mm.
And just to cap it off, this is National Brownie Day. If you didn't know, there's competing theories about how this all came to be.
Okay.
But yeah, it is the brownie day. While the chocolate brownie is the most popular, the blonde brownie made with brown sugar isn't far behind. So have yourself a brownie.
Are you an end piece? Hold on. Are you an end piece or a middle piece?
I'm a middle piece.
Yeah. Do you like walnuts or nuts or anything in it?
I don't mind a walnut. As long as there's chocolate chips in it, so you get the goo.
No.
I like the gooiness. Gooey.
Yeah. I like a nice, fluffy brownie. I like the end though. I like a little bit of the crisp on the end. Not so much that I want that pan where every piece has like the end piece, but no walnuts. I'm not a walnut fan. Gives me the chills. So yeah. Now I'm gonna have to go find myself a brownie today. Celebrate brownie.
That's right. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz for more than 30 years. Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses. If you need help with your taxes, Steve's at 888 Tax Deal. He's also online at moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show.
So many votes for good white chocolate and macadamia nuts.
Ooh.
I love that in a cookie, like a white chocolate macadamia nut cookie. I haven't had it as a brownie though. Then Sticky Cola Bud, which from the name I suspect you would know, Ghirardelli brownie mix from Costco is really good.
So good.
Yeah, and then let's see. Mo says Baker's chocolate recipe for brownies is superb.
I like it when it's a little undercooked.
Like a little gooey.
Yeah.
A little wet. You like it a little wet? All right. While we're thinking about it, please click that thumbs up to support this show. We really, really, really do appreciate it. And of course, support Steve Moskowitz at AAA Tax Deal, Moskowitz LLP. He is our exclusive founding sponsor. Let me just get to some of the comments real quickly before we move on to Brittney Griner and what also happened at the People's Choice Award. I get what you guys are saying about the separation of church and state and the library. Wasn't something that I really thought of, but I was more focused on the fact of when we tell schools, when we tell children especially, that certain ways of thinking are antiquated, if we're trying to instill certain values and belief systems in our kids' lives, if our children are watching the news today and see that the Respect for Marriage Act is about to become law once President Biden signs it, and we explain what that means, I don't feel like one reading from Kirk Cameron and his book is going to erase all of those values that I instill in my child. And in the reverse, I don't think that Kirk Cameron needs to go out and do all of these things to instill those values in his own children and within his own community. I feel like someone had mentioned earlier, this whole saving of other people is nonsense. It is a control tactic, in my belief. It is a control tactic organized religions and lots of religions have used to recruit, right? What's the best way of recruiting people to your religion and in turn get their money? It's by putting the fear of God in them, that if they don't believe the way you do, that they're not going to go to heaven or wherever they go. It is such a human type of manipulation, in my opinion, and holds no water to me. So if you feel that you need to save all of these people, that's fine. But I don't believe that. And I don't think that as an American in this country, you should impose those beliefs or create laws that restrict the freedoms to love, to marry for other people in this country. So that's what I'm going to say about that. A lot of people mentioning about the drag queens. I don't know what books they read. I would assume they have to do with inclusiveness. I don't know who chooses it, if they choose it or other people. Al Anonymous, drag is awesome. I've dressed up before, but the way the media covers it is polarized, and the danger it introduces from people protesting is not somewhere I want to take my kids. I get that point,
Yeah.
This is why we can't have nice things, as Kim loves to say. I'm sure it's a little bit of a shock factor. I wish it wasn't so much. I wish people, again, just mind their own business, right? Are they harming you? Are they hurting anybody? It might not be what you like or know or are familiar with, but you can either familiarize yourself with it or move along. Keep scrolling, keep walking, go visit something else. It's not that difficult to mind your own business. I just wish more people would. So there are some big companies. I love this list. Kim sent me this. Well, we were talking about something, Ken, about fast foods and religion, and Chick-fil-A is one that many people know.
And Carl's Jr. came up. That's what it was.
Carl's Jr. That's right. That's right, because we were talking about the food. I was saying Carl's Jr. I only like the Western bacon cheeseburgers. But anyways, when you think about companies and religion, you think of Hobby Lobby. You think of Chick-fil-A. But this list surprised me. So let's go down. Forever 21. I had no idea that a store that sells, in my opinion, some risque clothing at times. I mean, not all of it, but cheap,
scantily clad looking. Yes.
Yes. They print a reference to the New Testament on the bottom of all of their bags, John 3:16, apparently. The store's owner are the Chang family, and they're born-again Christians. Mrs. Chang told Bloomberg Businessweek that the store had religious roots, citing that God told her she should open a store and that she would be successful. Okay. Tyson Foods, which is, I buy Tyson Foods sometimes. So Tyson's is a very religious company. The founder openly talks about his Christian beliefs. The company's core values say it strives to honor God and be a faith-friendly company. And since 2000, the company's employed 120 office chaplains who are there to provide compassionate pastoral care to its employees. So I didn't know about that. I knew about In-N-Out. That's on the list.
Yeah.
American Airlines. How many of you fly American Airlines? Apparently, they pass along an inspirational note card with an Old Testament passage with your breakfast. Each breakfast tray comes with a note card printed with a passage from the Old Testament. And this has been happening for decades.
Wait, are you sure that's American?
Oh, pardon me. Alaska. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize. It's Alaska Airlines.
Alaska Airlines, yeah. And you know what? Randy writes this. Stores religious bent makes no difference to me unless they're handing out pamphlets at the door. It should, Randy, and here's why. Because a lot of these organizations, like Carl's Jr., that a very Catholic organization, will turn around and make big donations to Catholic charities. They may donate to groups that are anti-abortion,
anti-LGBTQ.
So in my estimation, this is akin to voting with your wallet. You know, it's not that they're religious. It's that they bring their religion into their business and what they do with the monies that I pay them.
Yeah.
I
mean,
don't
and
want
that's
my
true.
money going to support some things. And so, yeah, if I know that, if not that a business is religious, but if I know that a business is donating big time to organizations I don't support, then I don't support that business.
Yeah. And I mean, how religious are you about researching the faith of a certain company or the company's founders? I mean, if it's important to you, I guess you should. It's exhausting. I don't know if people have time to research every single thing and, where it goes and how far the line goes. But if you do find out, once you know, then you can make a decision. Marriott Hotel, apparently the founder is a devout Mormon. And let's see, they put a Book of Mormon inside every single Marriott hotel room. I don't know the last time I went to a Marriott hotel room, but I'm going to have to check that out. JetBlue, also featured in a book titled The Mormon Way of Doing Business. The home sourcing or relocation of its phone reservation system provides a hint to the CEO's religious roots. Yeah, apparently that's the way they do business, the missionary way. The missionary kind of, not the sex position people.
What?
Get your head out of the gutter. Okay. Let's see. Mary Kay. I don't support Mary Kay because they're an MLM, but Mary Kay, the makeup company, I bet, has a company commitment to God. So they talked about that. See, Tom's of Maine, which is that natural deodorant company, right? Natural products, toothpaste, things like that. Tom Chappell is an active Episcopalian, and he graduated from Harvard Divinity School. I guess when they emphasize faith in the business, where you work. I mean, would you work for a company if you know from the get-go that this is the way they do business? I guess that's a decision you make.
I mean, would you take a job with Hobby Lobby? Because I would not. No, I wouldn't. But if I were,
I get Sundays off. That's kind of awesome.
Then maybe I would if that was why. That's the
exactly.
way I lean.
And you're free to do that. Timberland is the CEO is Jewish. That made him sever ties with a Chinese factory. They are committed to promoting corporate social responsibility. Jeff Schwartz moved to sever the company's ties with the Chinese factory where human rights violations were allegedly occurring, despite it took a hit to the bottom line. He attributed his motivation to his own personal Jewish faith. Well, I support something like that.
Yeah.
If you're using your religion to make these sorts of decisions.
Ethical and moral decisions, right?
Yeah. So those are just a couple. I mean, some of those, again, it goes back to I never knew because I never researched it. I mean, it's not something that I honestly do every single day. Life's busy. Tanya writes in, I don't research every single thing, but if I find out that they support an organization that I do not agree with, I do not support them. Exactly. Once you know, then you can make an educated decision about it. Okay, so at the People's Choice Awards, we talked about that, with our whole NIPS conversation that YouTube, by the way, flagged a little bit, but whatever. Anybody watch Selling Sunset? Anybody in the chat room? It's one of those reality TV shows that has to do with real estate, selling it in the sunset. Okay. I've watched it. It's kind of fun. It's trashy reality TV. They have this one character. I don't know what you call these people, person on there, Chriselle. She was dating or married. She was married to the son in This Is Us. I'm forgetting Josh something. She was married in real life to him, and he like divorced her in this most embarrassing way. Anyway, side note. Anyways, she got divorced, started dating one of the main characters on Selling Sunset. They broke up. And then she started dating, the person's name is G Flip. Okay. G Flip is non-binary. Okay. They use the pronouns they and them. And she started dating them in April. Well, Chriselle was the only one nominated at the People's Choice Awards for the show Selling Sunset, but was told that she could not bring her partner G Flip with her because there was no plus ones. Then she showed up, and other members of the show who were not even nominated were allowed to bring a plus one.
Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, it's a little interesting. You know, she's calling them out. And then she went on to say that G Flip wouldn't even be able to come because they were, I think, touring. I think they're a DJ or something like that. But yeah, Chriselle was in their music video. That's kind of how she unveiled their relationship or whatever on the show. But yeah, she lost, though, Chriselle did, to Khloe Kardashian for Best Reality TV Star. And then Selling Sunset lost to the show The Kardashians, which I don't know where we have to be as a country for those shows to go away, but I don't watch them.
I don't know.
It's exhausting. I'm
bad that I don't pay attention to that. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care about Kim Kardashian. I just don't.
I don't care at all. I do understand that it's part of the pop culture world.
Right.
And you guys know, I love following pop culture. I love kind of celebrity news because it's trashy. My best friend who lives in Idaho, her grandmother, her great-grandmother would always mail her all of those, National Enquirer people, those kinds of rags. And I just grew up reading that just for fun. I don't put a lot of stake in it because it doesn't really matter. But the reason I brought it up was, again, People Choice Award, you're honoring all these people. You like to think that they're progressive, and then they make decisions like this. Now, was the decision made because of G Flip? I'm not going to go that far. Chriselle seems to want to, but I think a plus one, people should just be allowed to bring, especially if you're up for a nomination, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I think you should definitely be allowed to bring that. We do have to touch on the Brittney Griner news. Kim, I woke up this morning and was really stoked to read the headline, but I'll be honest, the first thing I thought was, what about Paul Whelan? It does not sit right with me that he's still there. Although I'm extremely happy that Brittney Griner was released. Now I'm going to play you a little bit of sound here. This is her wife, Brittney Griner's wife, Sherelle, kind of talking about this day. And obviously, if you have a spouse that's in a Russian prison for months, it is a very happy day. So here she is.
Today, my family is whole, but as you all are aware, there's so many other families who are not whole. And so BG's not here to say this, but I will gladly speak on her behalf and say that BG and I will remain committed to the work of getting every American home, including Paul, whose family is in our hearts today. As we celebrate BG being home, we do understand that there are still people out here who are enduring what I endured the last 9 months of missing tremendously their loved ones. So thank you, everybody, for your support. And today it's just a happy day for me and my family. So I'm going to smile right now. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a class act. That is a class act. When you're so excited that your loved one is coming home, and you take a moment to remember those that didn't.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, I think that is, I don't know this for sure, but I'm positive that she's spoken with the Whelan family. I'm sure they've reached out. I mean, when you're going through something and another family is going through the exact same thing, I'm sure there's been conversations. Now, again, Griner is the second American detainee that's been released from Russia this year. Back in April, Trevor Reed, the former U.S. Marine, was released. And now Griner is. As you can imagine, Paul Whelan has found out about this. He says he's greatly disappointed that they weren't able to secure his release as well. David Whelan actually put out a statement. He started the statement by saying, "I'm so glad that Brittney Griner is on her way home. As the family member of a Russian hostage, I can literally only imagine the joy she will have being reunited with her loved ones." But this time, U.S. government officials let us know in advance that Paul would be left behind, unlike last April when they left him. That was when Trevor Reed was released.
Mhm.
That early warning meant that our family has been able to mentally prepare for what is now a public disappointment for us and a
Right.
catastrophe for Paul. I do not know if he is aware yet, although he will surely learn from Russian media. Our parents have had calls with him every day since his return to IK-17 on December 2nd, and they will surely speak with him soon. I mean, it's a long statement. He goes on to say Paul has worked so hard to survive nearly 4 years. He hopes his hopes had soared with the knowledge that the U.S. government was taking concrete steps to get his release. He's been worrying about where he'd live when he'd get back to the United States, and it's not happening this time. Now, President Biden has said he's not giving up on getting Whelan out, but obviously, it's a huge disappointment. President Biden said, sadly, for totally illegitimate reasons, Russia is treating Paul's case differently than Brittney's. And while we have not yet succeeded in securing Paul's release, we are not giving up. We will never give up.
They think he's a spy. She had a
Right.
trace amount of CBD
Yes.
oil in a vape pen.
Yeah.
So if they truly believe he's a spy, I can imagine that they would treat the cases differently.
Yeah.
Although if it seems to me that if we were going to, as we have, give up the merchant of death, this gun runner, this
Yeah,
gun
the bout.
arms salesman,
Yeah.
this person who's, blamed for murders galore, then it would have been nice to get all the Americans we could out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? We can't know what's behind the scenes, right? We don't know. We were hearing a couple of weeks ago that Brittney wasn't doing well. We were hearing from people like members of Pussy Riot talking about what she's going through in some of these prisons. So it's not as if, we're going to know the minute that hopefully Paul Whelan's about to be released. But there is that knee-jerk reaction of being extremely disappointed. And Dallas Cowboy star Micah Parsons has had to kind of walk back his initial reaction. I'm going to show you. Hold on. I actually pulled his tweets to make it easier. So this was Micah Parsons, again, with the Dallas Cowboys. His initial reaction. He said, wait, nah, we left a Marine? Hell nah. And then he went on to write, my last tweet was no shot at Brittney Griner. I'm super happy she's back home, as she should be. I just have family who have served, and it's crazy to me the president wouldn't bring him home too. I'm the furthest thing from a Trump supporter, but I'm not a fan of Biden either. So, I think a lot of people had a similar type of reaction, like, wait, what the hell? You're leaving Paul Whelan, who's been there almost 4 years? We should get him home too. Now, not to knock who Brittney Griner is, WNBA, a U.S. Olympian. But we want to get all of our people home. But then obviously, Micah Parsons with the Cowboys got on the phone with some people, because this is what he then started tweeting. Just spoke to some people that I respect and trust. I should have been more educated on the topic and not tweeted out of emotion for my family and others who have served. For that, I apologize. Also, if what I'm told about the attempts to bring retired Marine Paul Whelan home are true, then the best outcome was accomplished. I pray Mr. Whelan comes home, but I'm extremely happy for Brittney and her family. I am not too prideful to admit when I've made a mistake. And I think that's the best response, when you have a reaction like this, because I think it's an honest one. I really do. I think being extremely disappointed, being worried, being concerned about what message this sends to other countries when Americans travel there. Being an American that may want to travel overseas to certain countries, it should give you pause, because on one hand, we want our Americans back. On the other, that also means that we often have to trade for people that we probably would not want to see out of an American prison. Yeah, the espionage charge against Paul Whelan is really what's the sticking point with his release. I don't think that should hold water, and I don't know what we're going to have to exchange in order to get him out. But I really do hope it happens soon. I can't imagine being in that prison for that long.
Not that I want anyone to be in prison and treated poorly, and I want everyone to be able to come home, but I will say that it's probably pretty tough in a Russian gulag and
Oh God, yeah.
penal colony. And I don't know Brittney Griner. She's a very large, tall woman. And so physically, she's probably was able to handle it, but mentally, I can imagine it really beats you down. And I know athletes have a strong, mental outlook, but a U.S. Marine who has gone through training,
Yeah.
I mean, just in the scheme of things, he's probably better able to handle it just because of the training he went through in the Marines.
Maybe.
I don't know, but I really hope that he comes home soon as well.
Well, yeah, and you don't want, what happened during former President Trump's presidency. Remember when they got out on a warm beer from that Korean prison, or that North Korean prison, right? He was almost a corpse. He came home and died. We don't want that to happen to Paul Whelan. It really does. It concerns me, all aspects of this. It concerns me that we make these trades. It concerns me, who we're releasing. It concerns me about the message we're sending, but we can't leave. We can't leave Americans over there, especially Americans who we believe haven't done anything wrong. So, JR, I think Griner checked a lot of boxes for various communities and garnered more public support. I don't know. I mean, I think there's a lot of support for Paul Whelan. I would hope so.
I think so too. Randy says I'm wrong. He says Whelan should have come out first. I agree with you, Randy. He absolutely should have come out first. I'm just talking about, who's better able to handle the situation. And and that's total conjecture on my part. I'm not saying he shouldn't have come out first. If that's the way it came across, that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, I think I wanted both. I mean, if we're going to, do some sort of trade, I wanted both, especially because, obviously it is illegal to have cannabis oil in a cartridge, but it's not like she's a drug dealer or anything like that. And so I don't know. I'm happy for the Griner family. And I think that today is a day where, again, your President Biden, got this done. Let's just hope he can finish it and get Whelan home as well. Okay, we're gonna do news in a moment. We'll do some food news also coming up in the next hour. There is some new technology, but it's old technology coming to a very popular fast food restaurant. And then we're going to talk about food sizes and how these fast food restaurants, they're fooling you. They're fooling us when it comes to what we're actually getting and what actually is a deal. Shouldn't be a surprise, but this one TikToker, and I'll play you the sound and I'll show you the pictures, really laid it out for me. And since I've done this, I won't do it anymore after I learned it. So I'm going to teach you about it. We still need to get a story from Kim about how she gave 80 Jell-O shots to young, impressionable children.
Oh,
We'll have that story in our food segment. If we have time, I do want to get into the crypto lawsuit with the celebrities because that's been dismissed. Trust fund babies. And then we have to get to Harry and Meghan because too many days are passing and we haven't weighed in on this. And I know that Kim McAllister has this love kind of hate relationship with the royals and Harry and Meghan and all of them. So we'll get her take on all of that. Again, click the thumbs up. The super chat is live. If you could throw us some dollars to keep the show going, we always appreciate it. And we'll give some shout outs towards the end of the show. But first, let's do some news with Kim McAllister. Oh, come on, here we go.
Now, from around the world to up your street. The Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Republicans are criticizing the Biden administration for freeing a Russian arms dealer as part of a prisoner swap for WNBA star Brittney Griner. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy called the deal a gift to Vladimir Putin that endangers American lives. He also called out President Biden for failing to strike a deal to release former Marine Paul Whelan from Russian custody, calling it unconscionable. The Phoenix Suns and the Mercury say Brittney Griner is headed back home where she belongs. Again, she was exchanged for Victor Bout, an arms dealer. Earlier this fall, a Russian court upheld Griner's drug conviction and 9-year prison sentence after screeners found vape cartridges containing a small amount of hashish in her luggage at Moscow airport. A massive defense spending bill is on its way to the Senate after passing the House. One of the more controversial provisions requires the Pentagon to get rid of the COVID vaccine mandate for members of the military. That has to happen within 30 days of the bill becoming law. Family members of those killed by gun violence calling for Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer to hold a vote on the House-passed assault weapons ban. Manuel Oliver, whose son Joaquin was killed in the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas massacre in Florida, says instead of passing gun legislation, lawmakers instead created DNA cards to more easily identify victims of gun violence. Joaquin's mother, Patricia, and members of Alex Schachter's family, another student killed at that school, are urging lawmakers finally pass a ban on assault weapons. California could see 10,000 more doctors in underserved areas over the next 10 years. Representative Josh Harder announcing the Department of Education will implement a fix to the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program that excluded doctors in California for almost 20 years. So under the loan program, doctors working for nonprofit hospitals can have their federal student loans forgiven. Until now, a law in California prevented doctors from being employed directly by nonprofit and public hospitals, so they didn't qualify for that forgiveness program. As California continues to be in a drought, a large number of wells in rural communities are drying right up. Nearly 1,400 household wells have been reported dry this year. It's a 40% increase over last year. The LA Times says the severe drought and overpumping of underground aquifers has caused domestic wells to dry up, hitting rural farming areas particularly hard. Some residents now have to rely on community water tanks and assistance from nonprofits and the state. Pope Francis expressing his grief at what Ukrainians have to deal with during their war against Russia. During a prayer in Rome, he wasn't able to speak for a time as he cried. He prayed for Ukrainians and mentioned specific groups, including children and the elderly. And to end it on a happy note now, well, kind of happy, kind of not. It's going to cost you some more to get into the happiest place on earth, Disney World, increasing its prices today for all 4 of its parks.
I swear
Tickets
to God.
vary, starting at $109, going up to $189, with Magic Kingdom being the most expensive. Disney wants their money.
Why are they so greedy? Am I being harsh here? I feel like Disney has become so greedy. Why are they raising the price so high? I don't feel like the return that you're getting is worth it, because it's not as if you're not still waiting in lines forever. I told you that my brother just went. I mean, he did the math and talking with how long people were waiting in line. You might be able to go on 3 or 4 rides. That was at Disneyland. I can't imagine Disney World. What? Are they not making a ton of money? It just blows my mind. They're greedy.
So then you have to really then add on what used to be called the Fast Pass. I think it's now called the Magic Key, or I don't know what.
Something, right?
But you have to add on the thing that gets you, a certain number of rides quick in line. So, because otherwise you're wasting all your money. You're going to go there and, like you said, ride 3 rides. So tack on some more money to your ticket. And I guess what I wonder is, is Disneyland for children or not?
No,
like,
no.
Are you trying
Not
to
for
bring
families.
joy to the masses, or are you trying to rake in money hand over fist? Because you're already spending money when you go to the park. The food's more expensive. The touristy items are more expensive.
Everything.
At least let people in at a price where more kids could afford, their families could afford to take them.
I don't think they care. I mean, the happiest place on earth, really? What's happy about it? The fact that I have to take out a second mortgage on my home almost to be able to go? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's probably, not in the Bay Area probably, but you're talking mortgage payments to go for a decent trip to Disneyland or Disney World. Why does it have to be that way? I don't think, and I don't know the history of Walt Disney that much. I don't think that that's what he imagined it being.
No.
This
Mm-mm.
money grab, which is what it's turning into. Every time they raise the price, you tell me, what am I getting? Because if you're like, oh, well, it's this great new attraction. What? A great new attraction that, from what I understand, breaks down all the time because Disneyland has all those problems with Star Wars. Or two, that I have to wait in line because you are just shoving as many people as you can inside your park. It's not fun. It's your TV ads that make it magical and nice. That's not what people are experiencing when they're there. And if they are, they're deluding themselves into thinking either they have a deal or they have a VIP thing. But most people are waiting in long lines with tired kids and not able to see all their attractions and getting basically financially raped by what's supposed to be a family-friendly company. It's ridiculous.
Oh, we know during COVID that Disney employees, cast members, weren't treated very well. Remember, they had a strike, and then we found out they weren't getting paid very well. Well, why? If you're charging
Exactly.
$189 to get in for one ticket,
Exactly.
well, why aren't you paying your people
Why aren't you
well?
paying them?
Right.
Exactly. And then you're gonna go, like in Florida, support your LGBT community cast members. I'm so glad someone mentioned this. Jay Siller, the best thing that Disney created was Disney cruise ships. I've never been on one. And I know I just went off on Disney, but I've wanted to. I don't know if my kids are getting they're 11 and 13. I don't know if that's a little too old, but I hear that Disney cruises are amazing. I'm not riding a cruise because of COVID and it's gross. But is it worth it, Jay Siller? Have you, I'm assuming you've been on one.
I was talking to a woman at Disneyland. You kind of sit on a perch waiting for your kids to get off of a ride or whatever. And we
Right.
struck up a conversation, and she was saying that they had just come from a Disney cruise, and
Mhm.
Disney owns an island. I forget something.
Yes, Castaway Bay or Castaway Key or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
go to this island, and there's it's
Mhm.
the Shangri-La for kids. There's races and
Yeah.
courses and all things for them to do, and challenges and prizes, and apparently it's just this most wonderful thing. And everyone I've ever known who's done a Disney cruise loves it. But I'm like you. Why would I want to go on a floating disease factory? I don't.
A
I
Petri,
don't.
and especially it's kids, right? Come on. They're probably licking the handles or something. I don't know. Mike
All right.
Hendrick writes in, I think the price to get into Universal Studios is roughly the same. That's a place I want to return to. I haven't been to Universal Studios since I was a kid. I want to go back there. I might pay for that just because I haven't been
And
there
now
forever.
they have the Harry Potter land, right? Or Harry Potter World.
Yeah, I hear
Yeah.
that the one on the East Coast and at Disney World is way better than the one in Southern California because it's
Okay.
smaller. But I don't know. My son just started, if you can believe it, reading Harry Potter.
Oh,
And
okay. He's gonna love it.
it's a huge thing. I don't know if there's my kids read, but they read like graphic novels. And I'm of the belief as long as you're reading, I'm
Mhm.
happy because it keeps the joy of books. And so it's been this thing between my son and I, where I always tell him, like, push yourself. Stop with the graphic novels. You finish it in an hour and then it's done. And he rereads them because he enjoys
Mhm.
them. But I'm like, push yourself. You're in 6th grade. You should be reading, besides school required books, at home. You should try to enjoy longer books. There's a reason why these books are popular. It's because they're good. And so like a week ago, I'm sitting on the couch and he goes and grabs a book and he sits next to me. He's like, are you happy? And I was like, you're going to read Harry Potter? Because I've had the whole series. And he's like, yeah. And I can't put it down. Brings it in the car with him, is constantly
Oh,
reading it. And every
so
time I
good.
see him, I'm so happy. I think it's definitely at the top of the list of being a parent when your kid goes and grabs a book and just starts reading it. It's like, oh, I'm doing something right.
Exactly.
At
No,
least they're reading
I
a
know how you
crazy
feel.
book. Oh,
I
there
know.
you go.
All right, this
Ah.
report is sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for the people, for the businesses. Doesn't matter what you got, he's got to help you. If you need help
There
with
you
your
go.
taxes, you give Steve a call at 888-TAX-DEAL or reach him on the web at moskowitzllp.com. You won't be sorry. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
All right, welcome to the second hour of the Nikki Medoro Show. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a lot to squeeze in, and if we don't get to it, there's always Friday, which we hope to get Tim Sika to talk movies, because a bunch of movies are coming out this weekend. I know Emancipation, the new Will Smith movie that we talked about, is coming out. The Whale, I think it's coming out this weekend. I hope I'm correct. That's the one with Brendan Fraser, who's making his return to Hollywood or whatever. So that's supposed to be. So hopefully Tim Sika is like checking his schedule and trying to move things around. And hopefully we can get Tim on the show tomorrow. Okay, so Kim McAllister, you had an event yesterday. Is this correct?
Did.
You did. You had an event. Let's first off tell people that may not know, what was this event yesterday?
Okay, so my daughter was in a community theater production of Mary Poppins.
Right.
And so there was a Mary Poppins cast party. Now the show is over, and I get, among other moms, roped into helping organize this cast party.
Right.
And so I'm looking for cute things and like little food items that are kind of Mary Poppins-y. So I find this. The Mary Poppins Jell-O cloud. Oh, I think kids are going to love that, right? And that's cute. That looks great.
Uh-huh.
So I send my husband to the store and say, hey, or he's going to the store. I say,
Right.
Can you pick up some little dessert cups, that I need to
Dessert
make
cups.
Jell-O.
Dessert cups. That's what you
Cups.
said. A dessert cup. Okay.
So he comes home with plastic shot glasses. He goes, hey, why gonna feed the kids Jell-O shots? And I thought, oh God, I didn't even think of that. But I had 9-10 boxes of blue Jell-O and a bunch of cups, and so forward we went. So this is how it turned out. This is one of the, okay, I know, it's like the episode of Nailed It or Failed It. Failed it. This is how it's supposed to look.
Okay, so
And
you
this is
don't
how it
have the umbrella. So explain to people that you only had tropical umbrellas. You did not have black umbrellas.
So I put a little sign there that said Mary Poppins Jell-O cloud. I will tell you, Nikki, all 80 of those things were consumed.
I'm sure. Now, did
And the
anybody
moms thought
give
it
you
was
weird
hilarious.
looks?
No, the moms were like, I was wondering what was going on there, but then I told them the story and they thought it was funny, and they're like, I was thinking you're bringing Jell-O shots for the parents.
You disappointed some parents, I am sure. Now,
Yeah.
how did the kids eat these?
I brought spoons. You can see
You suck.
there's a little area of spoons right here up at the
Oh,
top.
there they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
You should have made them try to suck it out. So there's a shot
Dale.
that's not Jell-O, but that has whipped cream on the top. It's the BJ shot. Anybody that's been to
Oh,
a bar,
no.
you're supposed to. And so that's when I saw that. I was like, and it even has the whipped cream on top. So, but they were a hit. You're mom
were
of
a
the
hit.
year. There you go.
They
There
were
you
all
go.
eaten. A party was great. All went well.
See,
And so
Kim knows.
yeah.
Kim knows that those definitely look. Oh, where did it go? Exactly. They look like adult shots that have a dirty name. It's the BJ, the BJ shot. You're supposed to take that shot with no hands too. If you
Oh,
do
is
it
that what it's supposed to
correctly.
be? Those are not Jell-O shots. They're Mary Poppins Jell-O clouds, Nikki. Okay.
Sure, they
Grab
are.
a
You should make them
spoon,
for a
sister.
party, like an adult party, and then actually really do it. So, well, good job.
Something else funny I have to show
Yes.
you.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
on
Yes.
my street. So there's this house. I swear
Look
to
at
you,
that.
not an inch of this house is not covered with lights. Right? I mean, the whole place. It's almost to the point where it hurts your eyes to look at it. And I don't know if you can see in the corner, they have a sleigh where you can go and get your picture taken on the sleigh. If you have a cell phone, you can go, your kids pose on the sleigh. It's cool. It's an amazing, they do an amazing job with it, but it is bright. Across the street, they did a little less.
That would be me. I love that so much. And do they have any other lights on their house, or is it just that?
No, just that. Ditto with an arrow
I
pointing
love it.
across the street. It's the second year they've done it, and it makes me
That's
laugh every
funny.
time I drive by. It's
I
great.
love neighborhoods like that. My parents' neighborhood that I grew up in is like, it's turning into this. It's a fabulous neighborhood. They do the arches with the lights. We don't have someone that has covered every inch of their house in lights, but we do have one of our neighbors is addicted to the inflatable like sand. Well, the great thing about his house is he's Jewish. So his entire house is Hanukkah themed. And so he has a gigantic blow up menorah. He has a bear that is almost as tall as his house.
Whoa.
That's like a Jewish bear. And he's the Hanukkah house. And he's like, it's always the corner house because they're by the main street. And he's just done it up. It's amazing. If you live anywhere near this area, you probably know exactly the house that I'm talking about. But I love homes that go all out like that. And I love homes that have a sense of humor, like the Ditto house, because that would be amazing.
The Ditto house. That's
the Ditto house. That's the best. Yeah. Look at that.
They really did a good job on the Ditto. I would imagine
they did.
The T's would be kind of hard.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, that is absolutely amazing. And just the thing, right? For a neighborhood to bring everybody around and in the holiday spirit, as they say. Well, the holidays are coming, and with the holidays comes the end of the year, and with the end of the year comes tax planning. If you have any questions, whether it's taxes, whether it's a letter from the IRS, whether it's ERC, whether it's things like, I don't know, HR, accounting, there's one person you should call. And it's the one and only Steve Moskowitz with Moskowitz LLP. Steve, I'm not selling you short here. You can do it all pretty much.
We have departments in our firm. We have all types of different things set up. And here it is, the end of the year. And you can think of it as giving yourself a Christmas present instead of getting totally in the holiday spirit and say, I'll take care of it in January, like a diet or something else. We could say, well, wait a minute, don't make this a New Year's resolution you're going to break. There's so much that we may be able to do to help you. All you have to do is talk to us. Now, some things have to be done by December 31st. Some don't. You may be entitled to a nice Christmas gift from the IRS with ERC. That's where they're giving away up to $26,000. The tax plan. There's so many different things. So basically what we'd like to do is talk to you. And then we'll see, okay, which department do you belong in? Is it a situation where you say, well, I'd really like to see if I'm entitled to that ERC. We'll set that up. Or, I like that idea of having better benefits for less money. Or I do have some HR considerations. Or there's some taxes that you didn't file or didn't pay. The bottom line is anything to do with it. Or we'll do estate planning as well. Maybe it's time now to update your trust. Or maybe you don't even have one. And, that happens sometimes. And even if you say, well, your assets aren't massive, you say, well, wait a minute. What happens if you're in a coma in a hospital bed? What do you want to have done? That's all part of estate planning. So, I saw you rolling your eyes, but it's horrible.
Yeah, but it's something I think of as a parent. I have 2 children. I have a husband. If something happened to either of us, I probably am with a bunch of people that need to do something to prepare for that.
That's right. Or the other thing too is, what if your spouse is in a hospital bed, can't speak for themselves, and the doctor says, so Nikki, should we pull the plug?
Never.
Horrible decision.
I know.
And whatever you decide, you'll second guess yourself and you'll say, well, maybe I should have chosen the other one. And you say never. What if your husband said to you, Nikki, hey, I don't want to live like that. I don't want to be a vegetable. I don't want to be laying there in tubes. Have mercy on me. Pull. And if you can't, then call my brother or my buddy. He can pull the plug. We'll respect your wishes, but don't let me suffer like that. And then whatever you decide, family members can sue you and say, we're not going to let you do that. Look at Terry Schiavo.
Yes. Good
the
example.
Family and the husband fought for 7 years where the husband could pull the plug or not. And she was in a vegetative state. And it's so famous because the governor of Florida, Governor Bush, and President Bush, they got involved. Who would have guessed that?
I know.
All of that could have been avoided if they had that, because people can sue you saying you're doing the wrong thing for your spouse. but you have the right to decide what you want for yourself. It takes the agony off of you.
Mm-hmm.
It gets what the other person wants. There's so much like that. We sit down, we talk to you, we explain all these things. And, these are things that are just so easy to put off. But like everything else, there are some people that's going to put it off and they're going to pay a horrible price for it. Let's take that off your plate. Let's go ahead and do everything for you.
Yeah, Steve, you could take a lot of things off people's plates, from, setting up a trust to handling the questions regarding ERC or a letter from the IRS. So give him a call. One simple phone call can save you a ton of money. 888-TAX-DEAL or MoskowitzLLP.com. That's MoskowitzzLLP.com.
Now,
Thank you, Steve.
All the viewers, they just have to feel so much better after they hear
I'm
that.
sure they're singing it with me. I think I've got some.
Well,
that
I
are
would think
singing.
so.
All right. Thanks, Steve. We'll talk again soon.
Okay.
Bye. All right. Yeah. So give him a call. 888-TAX-DEAL, MoskowitzLLP.com. Honestly, having Steve on this show has been so educational and eye-opening for me. And I hope for all of you as well, because you hear tax deal, you hear tax attorney, you're like, I don't need that. I don't need that. Listen to all of those things that he can help you with. So give him a call, support him. He supports our show. He's been such a huge supporter of this show. We cannot overstate that enough. And so you supporting him is always going to be the right move for you, your finances, and getting that tax monkey off of your neck. All right. Okay, so we did Kim's Jell-O shot story, which I love. Now we're going to get into a different type of food story. And this is something that I find myself doing because I try to save money. Now, okay, I should not eat fast food as much as I do because I'm always in the car. Kim, you feel me? You're running this kid to that place. And so your kid wants something to eat. And so you're like, okay, I'll go there, but I'm going to try and find something that's reasonably priced and I don't need all that extra type of stuff and blah, blah, blah. So one of the places that my daughter likes to eat is Panda Express. She only really likes one thing. She likes their orange chicken. That's what she likes. That's what she gets. So normally when I go, I had been, because I don't want the rice. I don't really care for their rice or their chow mein or any of that kind of stuff. I've been getting the a la carte. They sell it in 3 sizes, like small, medium, large. Okay. And I'll just eat that. And I think that I'm kind of getting over on them. Like I'm saving money, for instance, because I should be getting either more money or more food for less money. That is not the case. So there is a TikToker who has been opening up everybody's mind about this. And I'm going to play you the sound. And while this sound is playing, I'm going to also show you some of the pictures so you get an idea. And this is what you need to do, not just at places like Panda Express, but what is it? Auntie Annie's or the pretzel place also has done something like this. This is why I love the internet, is because they educate us on things that we have completely wrong. So listen in.
Panda Express offers 3 a la carte sizes, all with different amounts at different prices. The small costs $4.20, weighing in at 5.3 ounces. That's the same amount of meat as a kid meal, but without a junior side, fruit side, and bottled water. I would order the kid meal instead. The medium costs $7.50, weighing in at 10.4 ounces. That's the same amount of meat as the 2 entrees and 1 side option, plus you get 1 side. The large costs $10.20, weighing in at 17.8 ounces, giving us the most chicken per dollar of the 3 options. But I still recommend you order the 3 entree 1 side, because you get to choose 3 different entrees plus 1 side for 80 cents less. Guys, if you go to Panda Express, do not order any size a la carte, or you'll be getting ripped off.
I know this isn't news breaking, but that's crazy that you're getting more food for less money.
It's too much thinking. For 80 cents, it's too much thinking.
Well, no. So what you have to just think of is how they're fooling you. That's why I brought this up. These places are fooling you into thinking that, oh, you don't need all of that food. You just want this, just get the a la carte. And that's where they're making their money. What is it? Auntie Anne's. Auntie Anne's is the pretzel place. There was this viral TikTok where the small pretzel was the same as they just dumped it into the large and it almost filled it up. And you might get 5 more little pretzels, but you're paying $2 more for it. So all of these things are ways that they're getting you away from all of your money. One person in the chat's asking, how's the meatless orange chicken at Panda Express? That was what I was going to get, and I still need to come up. I had one idea for our food segment tomorrow. Maybe I'll get that. I've never tried it. So should I try it tomorrow? maybe. I like their orange chicken. I like the sauce. Meatless orange chicken. They're really trying to sell it. They do a lot of commercials. So maybe we'll do that. Orange chicken is yummy. It is, Nick. It's fast food, but they cook it right in front of you. I mean, if you're going to get it, it's breaded. It's not healthy, but it's not like it's been sitting there. I mean, they're constantly making this stuff. They use meat. Well, yeah, but they have meatless orange chicken now. That's what Panda Express is touting right now. They have the orange chicken, the regular that's chicken, and then they have the impossible chicken, I guess they're calling it, or whatever. So
I don't remember the last time I went to a Panda Express.
Oh, see, I love Asian food. I love Chinese food. And so, okay, let's see. What do I like there? I like their orange chicken. I like their honey walnut prawns. I like I think it's the chicken with zucchini or something like that. That's pretty good. But yeah, I mean, basically, if you're going to go to Panda and you have kids or you don't eat a lot, like I don't, get the kids meal. And if you're going to go for the large a la carte, just get the 3-plate because you pay less and you get more food. So there you go. That is my lesson for all of you in our food segment. And then finally, one more food segment, McDonald's. Did I tell you about this? Last week, they unveiled a new conveyor belt to change their on-the-go and delivery orders. It's being tested in Texas. It's considerably smaller than a traditional McDonald's restaurant, and it's geared towards customers who don't want to go inside. They just want to get their food from a conveyor belt. There will be a separate order ahead lane and a conveyor belt for you to pick up your food.
It's like a drive-through?
So yeah, it's like
they eliminated the drive-through person?
And thank you for bringing that up. That's exactly right. So there's no more interaction. The only thing I can compare it to, and I'm not a huge Panera person, but you know, Panera, they have the little boxes and you could just grab your to-go. You don't even interact, I think, with anybody, really. You pay on the app and then I think you just go in there and you grab your food. So it's getting rid of another person. And when you say person, another wage, where you then become the worker. You're putting in your order, you're picking it up, you're deciding all that. I went into one place. Oh, where was it? I think either Taco Bell or McDonald's, I'm sure. And they have the kiosk with the screen and you just order it all on your own. So you become a temporary employee. There were employees behind the counter, but they weren't standing at the register. So you just kind of feel like, well, I can either stand there for 2 minutes till somebody notices me, or I could put in the order myself. That's where we're heading, people. That's where we're heading. They're getting rid of all of these jobs because they don't want to pay people the wages. That's what they're doing.
I mean, I guess there has to be someone there to cook the food, but if they can get you to order it on your own and pick it up off a conveyor belt, they can eliminate a lot of staff members.
Yeah. I mean, and that's sad because instead of paying people a living wage, they're kind of going all in on this idea that it's not high skilled or, a job worthy of paying people more, which sucks because there are people that this is the job that they can do, want to do. Maybe they've dedicated time to it. They're becoming a manager. I don't know. But instead of paying them, they're going to kind of pull that card and just pull those jobs and make us employees, which, you don't have to eat at McDonald's. You don't have to eat at Taco Bell. You don't have to eat at any of those places.
Hi, Nugget. Bye, Nugget.
Bye, Nugget.
I think the start of this was really the whole, when you buy a drink, they hand you the cup. And you go get them drinks, right?
Interesting.
So that was the beginning of it all. There's a Pizza Hut in Petaluma. They have the coolest drink machine where you walk up to it and you have all these options. You can, mix drinks. Like you could get half. I wouldn't, but you could get like half orange Fanta, half Sprite. You just push the button for that.
Oh, yeah.
So interesting and fun to do. But as I'm doing, I always think, here's another job loss. There's some guy who used to pour the drinks who doesn't get to do that anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, I get that not every single job needs to survive. Like, could we just have the cashier and then, of course, the cooks and the people that put all the food together? I still want the drive-through person. I like the drive-through person. Every time I bring Nugget with me to the drive-through, they're always, oh, your dog's so cute. And it's just this human interaction that I feel we're slowly eroding. Okay, so there's no more person at this kiosk or at the checkout line or whatever. And now all of a sudden, when's the last time you talked to someone that wasn't part of your family? Is that where we're heading? Is we don't even know how to interact with each other in a business environment. I don't want to be handled by robots every time I go out. I don't want to have to put in my order every time I go out.
Well,
The
where
soda
will these
machine, eh.
where will these jobs go? These kind of entry level
Yeah.
minimum wage jobs. There are people that need those jobs. So what happens to them?
They go away and then people can't find a job.
Right.
Or, they just put their time and energy into more skilled jobs. But I don't know what those are necessarily when technology is going towards automation, towards computers doing that. Where are the human jobs? How are humans supposed to make a living or a living wage? I don't know. It's going to be a reckoning that as a society we're going to have to come to terms with. I listened to this one podcast where they were dealing with that, where this idea of computers and machines doing all the jobs gives human beings more leisure time. But as human beings, as part of the animal kingdom, we need a purpose to our day. We need to do something. It's nice to be like, I'll just be rich and sit on my ass all day. But after a while, you're going to want to do something. And so where are those roles going to be for humans if the computers and the kiosks take over all the jobs? I have no idea. You guys can tell me in the chats, but Cindy writes in, labor equals consumers, less labor income, less money consumers can pay. Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of this boulder rolling downhill where we're all just going to get smashed up and then look at ourselves and be like, how did it happen? How it happened was we got our own cup. We checked out our own groceries. We went to the kiosk instead of standing at the register demanding that a human being serve us. We have a role in what's happening. And are we going to go kicking and screaming or just go along like a machine? We'll have to see. Okay, Kim's going to do news in just a moment. Let's see. I know I have some celebrity news. We have to touch on Celine Dion. I have some sound of her announcement today. So sad. And I heard Kim mention on Mark's show that she knows somebody that has what Celine Dion has announced that she has. So we'll get into that. We'll touch just briefly on Harry and Meghan. I know they bother some people, but I don't know. I'm totally going to watch this. The Daily Show, yesterday, or was it airing tonight, was Trevor Noah's last hosting on The Daily Show. And so who is going to fill in, and do you like any of the people that have been mentioned? You can let me know in the chat. Again, click that thumbs up button. And of course, go to our website, thenikkimedoroshow.com, and you can become a monthly subscriber to our Patreon. We love all of our supporters. We have ideas and things planned in the new year, but it can only happen if you guys can financially support the show. So any amount that you can give is appreciated. Of course, the super chat is live. If you can throw us some money there for a super sticker or a super thanks, we really appreciate that as well. And that's all coming up right after Kim's news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. The Biden administration says Russia is treating former Marine Paul Whelan's case differently than Brittney Griner's. Griner was released by Russia in a prisoner swap. The White House press secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said the only choice that the United States had was to bring Griner home or to bring no one home at all. The number of Americans filing for unemployment benefits is slightly climbing. The Labor Department says 230,000 Americans filed such claims a week ago. It's 4,000 more than the previous week's revised total. More than 100 members of Congress are calling on President Biden to create a national strategy to fight anti-Semitism. The results of a 2021 audit from the Anti-Defamation League showed anti-Semitism is at an all-time high in the U.S. Data also revealed New York had the highest amount of reported anti-Semitic incidents in the country last year. Georgia's Senate runoff election is revealing how different political parties vote. The early voting period was dominated by incumbent Democrat Raphael Warnock with 58% of the vote, but about 57% of voters who cast ballots on Tuesday did so for Republican Herschel Walker. Missouri legalizing recreational marijuana today. Yes, Missouri. People 21 years and older are allowed to legally possess up to 3 ounces of pot. Consumers will not be able to purchase pot at a licensed dispensary right away, though. The earliest Missourians will be able to buy marijuana products recreationally would be February. And as Nikki mentioned, Celine Dion is suffering from a rare neurological disorder. It's called stiff person syndrome, characterized by muscle spasms and heightened sensitivity to stimulus. In an Instagram post, Dion said she had to postpone her upcoming European tour because the spasms have impacted her ability to walk and to sing. So yesterday, we had a story about Elon Musk not being the richest person in the world anymore. Ha, psych. He's now, again, the world's richest man. That according to Forbes. Yes, he was briefly surpassed Wednesday by
Who bought
Bernard
a Tesla?
Arnault, head of the Louis Vuitton parent company LVMH. But less than 2 hours later, Musk was back on top. I don't know, fluctuating stocks, fluctuating money. I don't know.
I mean, that seems really quick, but I don't know how that works anyway. So
They're
I mean,
neck
the
and
headlines
neck.
around him are not good. So I
It's
can't
like
imagine.
a horse race, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a photo finish. There's a holiday pre-sale set for next year's Bottle Rock Napa Music, Wine, and Food Festival. This is so smart of them to do. These tickets are really expensive. So, you know, a lot of people might be asking for that for a holiday gift. 3-day general admission passes go on sale to the public at 10 a.m. Thursday. The musical acts for the Memorial Day weekend shows have not yet been announced. So you just have to kind of, I guess that it's going to be good. Last year, Pink was on the lineup. So, you know, I mean, it's no.
All right.
Usually they have somebody you might want to see, but yeah, so they're doing a holiday pre-sale.
Oh,
This
nice.
report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz for more than 30 years. Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses. If you need help with your taxes, give Steve a call. He's at 888-TAX-STEAL or online at moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
Perfection, my friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we do have some celebrity news, but we talked about this story. What was it, last month? I think it was announced that all those celebrities, Kim Kardashian, Floyd Mayweather Jr., a bunch of people were being sued for promoting cryptocurrency. Remember? So yesterday, Judge Fitzgerald said that the investors had failed to show that the executives and promoters, so the celebrities, schemed to mislead investors rather than acting in their own interests. The investors' fraud claims failed because they had not stated whether or when they saw the promotions. The judge also permanently dismissed the claim under California's consumer protection law. He said it applies to tangible goods and services, not intangible goods, such as cryptocurrency, which doesn't exist. Kim Kardashian, though, in October, had to pay $1.26 million to the Security and Exchange Commission to settle claims that she failed to disclose that she was paid to promote Ethereum Max tokens, but did not, she said that she had not committed any wrongdoing, but she just paid $1.26 million. When the lawsuit was first announced, I was kind of on the fence on whether or not they should be held liable. And we kind of had this debate in the chat room. My thinking is it did legitimize it, right? I mean, it legitimized it by saying, look what I'm doing, just as any sort of celebrity endorsement can do. I would say that people like athletes, Tom Brady, and I'm not quite sure, this might be the same lawsuit that had Tom Brady in it, actually moving your money into, like, I'm getting paid in Bitcoin or I'm getting paid in whatever, just brought it to another level. Now, I don't know if it brings it to the level of having the lawsuit continue, but I'm sure that he got it right. It's just, it's a scam. It's a pyramid scheme. And unless you really educate people about it, there's going to be the next crazy thing that people are going to blow their money on, which they're entitled to do. It's just some people should be held accountable if it really is a deck of cards, like certain things like cryptocurrency, in my opinion, are. Nick has a good point. If you buy into celebrity hype as a legitimizing force of marketing, then you deserve whatever you get or lose. On that note, though, it is the most successful form of advertising is celebrity endorsements. That's hands down the reason why. Let's just say, remember during COVID, they had those, was it silver or copper bracelets? You get some celebrity to slap that thing on their wrist and say, oh my God, all my pain is gone. You'll get people to buy it. There's a reason why, the Home Shopping Network that brings celebrities on, why these celebrities start their own skincare line or jewelry line or fill in the blank. It's because once it's a person that people like, relate to, or know, people trust the product and they buy it. You can look at marketing 101. And if you do something like that, a business will make money. Absolutely. Oh, I didn't know any celebrity did. Jim Leroy's Pet Rock, celebrity endorsed. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know it was celebrity endorsed, but yeah, the fact that people spend money on a rock that they can get outside, that says all you need to know about celebrity endorsements. Now, let's get into the announcement from Celine Dion. I'm going to play you a little bit of the sound. The heartbreak in this woman's voice. I mean, she's such a talent. Her voice is it's iconic. I mean, I'm not, exaggerating. Celine Dion's voice instantly. It's power at such a young age too. I mean, she's been in the business, but this is a little bit of the announcement that she made today.
Recently, have been diagnosed with a very rare neurological disorder called stiff person syndrome, which affects something like 1 in a million people. While we're still learning about this rare condition, we now know this is what's been causing all of the spasms that I've been having. Unfortunately, these spasms affect every aspect of my daily life, sometimes causing difficulties when I walk and not allowing me to use my vocal cords to sing the way I'm used to. It hurts me to tell you today. This means I won't be ready to restart my tour in Europe in February.
It is so sad that the first thing that this woman thinks about, of course, are her fans. I'm not sad. It's obviously relatable, but you want her to be okay. What she's going through, there was an article in the Washington Post, like she mentioned, causes muscle stiffness, intense muscle spasms, affects posture, balance, the ability to even use certain muscles. It could be progressive and painful. So imagine what this woman's been going through. She also mentioned in her comments that she's known about this, for a while. She just wasn't ready to make the announcement. I had never heard of stiff person syndrome, but Kim, you know somebody with this, right?
Well, there's a neighbor that I never personally knew, but I knew of her because my sister was walking home from school one time. And this was a person who was older, like a few years older than my sister. She must have been in elementary school. And this girl was a high school student. And so my sister's walking home from school, getting kind of bullied by some kids that are walking by her. And this girl comes out of her house and takes my sister in, protects her, gives her a soda, talks to her on the porch. And so forever, I was grateful for that and kind of knew what house she lived in and what have you. Well, it turns out that she grew up, she got married, and she moved to Haiti with her husband, and to raise her kids, she worked as a nurse. While in Haiti, she got stiff person syndrome.
Oh, wow.
I'd never heard of it before, but it can lock up your muscles so you can't walk, you can't move, and in some cases at the very end, you can't breathe.
Oh,
Your
geez.
respiratory muscles are affected. They say it can be triggered by environmental stimuli and
Mm-hmm.
other things, and stress and all kinds of things, but it is a progressive disease which can end in the loss of your life. So it's really a big deal that Celine Dion says she has this. I don't know how far along she is in the disease, but it could mean that hearing Celine Dion perform live and sing is going away.
Yeah, I mean, it's not curable. It can be managed. According to one doctor, treatment is aimed at targeting the nervous system directly to restore balance. She would get like intravenous immune globulin (IVIG) treatment. It uses antibodies to blunt the immune response. It says pain simply isn't what you feel; it's also what it does to you. And basically, all you can do is try to improve someone's quality of life. It is so sad. Celine Dion is an amazing, amazing singer. She has kids. She lost her husband not too long ago. It's just obviously the world. I mean, she's just an international star. Heart is breaking to hear the news, because I bet you're right, Kim. I doubt. I mean, and I hate to say this, but I doubt she'll ever tour again unless she can really get it together. And then, that would seem like a miracle. It absolutely would.
But I
But
never heard of that before. Stiff person
I hadn't
syndrome.
when she
Isn't the
said it
weirdest
because of
thing.
yeah, when she
Yeah.
said it because of her accent, I was like, I thought that's what she said, but I'm like, did I hear that right? I never heard of something like that. 1 in a million? I mean, that's how. Well, I mean, I think she was
Imagine how
coming out.
uncomfortable that would be. Like, just kind of straighten out your leg. Now
No.
imagine not being able to ever unstraighten it or
Mhm.
unclench it, right?
Well, it's not having control over your own body. That has to be so frightening. It's like I want, and there's so many diseases that do this to the body, right? But just this betrayal that you just can't control, but your body is betraying you in this way, and oh, it's so heartbreaking. It absolutely is. So yeah, our hearts go out to Celine Dion and her family, and praying for a miracle, right? I mean, because she's such an immense talent that you hate that it's ending this way right when she was going to start touring again. On an interesting note, though, this is an issue that you need to prepare for. Obviously, if things like this can happen out of the blue. I've shared, the stories with my daughter, who also is now having a chronic illness for the rest of her life, never saw something like that coming. And so you need to prepare for the things that you never expect to happen to you. Celine Dion didn't see something like this happening. And so you have to have things set in place so that you're prepared. And while you may not think of this at top of mind, this is something that Steve Moskowitz, actually, his company can help you with. Steve, we were just talking about Celine Dion, and these things can happen, but you can do things to set yourself up so that the decision is already made and your family doesn't have to make things like this for you.
Absolutely. And obviously, when we were talking about this last time, I'm
Yeah.
so sorry to hear about her. And obviously, great talent. The difference between her and almost everybody else is she has the money to set up everything I'm talking about and then some. But, basically I deal with, I don't know if I should use the term real people, but, not world renowned stars. And these things are so vitally important when you don't have an entourage hanging around you to say, well, we'll take care of all these things. The people around her would do all the things that I'm talking about.
Of course.
It's so vitally important for yourself and your family. You want to set these things up while you still can, because what you don't want there to be is sometimes, some illnesses affect the mind. And then there's a question of, well, were you in the right mind when you did this? And the people can challenge that. So you want to set things up when you are in the right mind and you can do it. And it's for your family and it's for yourself. And a lot of people don't know these things exist. It's like we talk about ERC so much, but just this morning, somebody called me on something else. He owed some money that he couldn't pay. And I asked him about ERC. You know what he said to me, Nikki? What's that?
How do you not know? Oh my goodness.
So and there are still people that they never heard of that. And I said, well, eventually this is going to go away. And you could be leaving a lot of money on the table. So people just don't hear of these things. And, unfortunately, a lot of times their CPAs don't tell them about it, because a lot of CPAs don't do this. And they just don't tell their clients about it. So the bottom line is, it's if you have a business, it's really good to talk to us and say, hey, what can you guys do for me?
Mm-hmm.
And even if you don't have a business, if you don't have an estate plan, which the term used to be wills, and you can still do a will, but most people now do a trust. Sometimes they're called a living trust. And it's so vitally important. And again, it's not just who gets your stuff if something happens to you. It's what if you can't speak for yourself? Another thing that comes up all the time, what if you're not married? What if you live with your significant other and your significant other knows everything that you would want? Well, you know what? The law doesn't recognize friends. So you could have a girlfriend or boyfriend of 30 years, but the doctor would say, well, who are you? No, not only can you not make any decisions, you're not even be in the room. You're not family, get out. And that would be heartbreaking to somebody that you live with and say, well, I know what he or she wants. So that's why you have to set these things up. I know it's not the fun stuff is when I say, hey, the government will give you up to $26,000. That's wonderful. That's fun. But, these things, it's life. It's real life. These things happen too. And, it's so much better to take care of it when you can rather than suffer for not taking care of it, or even letting your family members suffer because you didn't take care of something.
Yeah, absolutely. And Steve has been doing it for so long that he's going to get you either the right trust. He'll tell you if you're qualified for the ERC. He'll tell you what your options are if you're dealing with the IRS. He is the guy to call. So give him a call, 888-TAX-DEAL. The number is right on your screen, or go to MoskowitzLLP.com, MoskowitzzLLP.com. Steve, we always appreciate you. We love the fact that you are our founding sponsor. You do so much great work for people out there, and they should all give you a call. Thank you so much, Steve.
Thanks, Nikki.
Thank you. Have
Bye,
a good
Steve.
one. Bye, Steve. All right, yeah. So give him a call, 888-TAX-DEAL, MoskowitzLLP.com. Yeah, I'm seeing in the chat room, I mean, when you know somebody that's gone through a kind of a tough diagnosis like this, the pain and just how hard it is to get, your affairs in order, make decisions like that. My goodness. But yeah, Celine Dion, obviously, My Heart Will Go On. That's the name of this. It was like right on the tip of my tongue before. My Heart Will Go On is one of her most iconic because of the Titanic. But the songs that she has put out in her career is amazing. How long she's been singing is amazing. And I'm just so sad for her. I really, really am. So again, our hearts go out to her and, anyone else going through something so difficult like this. Well, let's end a little bit on an up note. You guys tell me what you think of this list, shall we? Now, are you a Daily Show watcher, Kim? Do you watch that show? I watched it a lot with John.
I'm more of a clip. Like I'll watch the clips.
Okay, yeah.
I'll see one pop up on social media and I always click on it. Or if my husband says, "Oh, you got to watch this one," then I will.
Yeah. So today is Trevor Noah's final show on the Daily Show, but they haven't announced his replacement. Now they're gonna let their current correspondent Jordan Klepper, I think that's how you say his last name.
Yeah, I love that guy.
I love that guy. He's the guy that goes to the Trump rallies and interviews people to make them hypocrites, which they are. So they're going to go through the regular correspondence. I hope that Jordan's one of them because he's awesome. And he's been at the Daily Show for so long. But let me give you some names. You tell me. Al Franken. A comedian, also a politician. So he's kind of has that insight. Chelsea Handler, who's had her own show. So that seems, not too far of a stretch. D.L. Hughley. Leslie Jones, who I think would be hilarious. John Leguizamo, Hassan Minhaj, Cal Penn, Sarah Silverman, Wanda Sykes, and Marlon Wayans are all listed as fill-in hosts when the show relaunches on Tuesday, January 17th. It's a tough role to fill. While I can imagine it's a dream job, I don't know if it's a job I'd want because everyone's going to compare you to the person who came before.
I kind of like what they did with Trevor Noah. They took a job that was so high profile and they gave it to someone who most people hadn't heard of before.
Yeah, I mean, he was a comedian. But yeah,
wasn't
I
a
had
list
never
of
heard
big-
of him.
It wasn't a list of big names that you just mentioned. I
Yeah.
mean, we know who those people are.
Exactly.
You know, I kind of like the idea of giving it to someone who, you know, you might be really talented and needs a platform.
Yeah. As Eric says, I like Sarah, but she can be very abrasive. Sarah Silverman. I agree. I think that Kim, actually, you're nailing it a bit. I think they're bringing in the big names, so you keep watching. I don't think any of those big names will necessarily be the host. I mean, who would want Jon Stewart to come back? I mean, I know he has his
I
own
would.
show.
God, I
I'd
love that
love.
guy.
I do
Yeah.
too. I don't know if he would though. Would it be the same? Because it's not the same people anymore, although their correspondents are awesome. And again, I do mostly watch it in clips, although sometimes when I'm thinking about it, and I'm because of the time it's on, usually I'm eating dinner, wrapping up dinner, prepping for the show, doing something with the kids. I agree with Chelsea though. A female host would be nice. Oh, I can't believe I'm not remembering her name right now. Whose show just ended? She's blonde. Oh, what is her name? And she just lost her show. Oh, anyways, it'll come to me. If anyone in the chat room is reading my mind, it's a female host that just lost her show.
Not Chelsea.
It's not Rebecca. It's it's driving me nuts now. I can see her face and I can't. Samantha Bee. Thank you, Samantha Bee. Thank you, Samantha Bee would be awesome. I liked her a lot. But I don't know if they'd give it to her. She is a big name, but not too big, I would say. I mean, big name, but not too big, I think. So Samantha Bee would be really, yeah, I got a bunch of them reading my mind. So we'll see. I don't think this is the end of the Daily Show, but they have to make the right choice. They really have to make the right choice because while Trevor Noah was good, I also think that his path on the Daily Show was hindered a bit by COVID. I mean, we're talking 2 years. He kept it up from home. He was growing out his afro, which was awesome. I think his monologues were great. The interactions, if you follow the Daily Show on social media, he does this thing where he interacts with the audience and you don't see it on the Daily Show, but you see it on social media. Great conversations, honestly. And really smart guy. He wants to tour. He's going to be in the Bay Area next December. I was thinking about getting tickets. So he's going to be, I think, around Christmas time. He's going to be, I want to say, at the Chase Center. I don't think at SAP, but I think at the Chase Center. So if you want to check him out, Trevor Noah will be there. But yeah, so we'll have to wait and see who is going to replace him on The Daily Show. All right, we didn't have time to get to Harry and Meghan. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Hopefully we will get, I'll get it. Don't worry. Hopefully we will get Tim Sika on. Let me see, actually. He can do it. Okay, great. Tim Sika just confirmed. I just checked my email. So we'll have Tim Sika on. We'll talk movies with him. It's going to be a fun Friday show. I'm leaning towards doing the Impossible Chicken from Panda Express as my food, my Friday food segment. Why? Do you have something better that you want me to try? Because there was a disgusting drink. I was going to go a disgusting drink to follow Pilk
Well,
from
I made
Friday.
you do Pilk last time. See, Milk.
Which was good.
I'm shocked that you liked it.
I did.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I
could brainstorm if you think of anything.
Pictures you showed of it, it just didn't look appetizing.
The Pilk or the orange chicken?
The orange chicken.
It just looks like regular orange chicken.
No, I don't know. It's like
because you know it's not chicken
splattered on the bowl. It just looked gross.
Well, we'll see. Maybe it'll look better. I doubt it, but I'm not going to get it a la carte. I'm going to get it as probably a kid's meal to save my money. So that'll come up. If you guys want to reach out to me, the Nikki Medoro Show at gmail.com is a great way. If you have any food that you want me to try that I can DoorDash to myself so it's nice and hot for me to have, please do that. Before the show ends, click the thumbs up button. It helps us out. And of course, go to thenikkimedoroshow.com. and become a monthly Patreon subscriber. We love our Patreon subscribers. Thank you to everyone. And we will talk tomorrow right here, starting at noon on The Nikki Medoro Show on YouTube.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're proud, like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.